Hello again, my foodie friends. I was craving a curry tonight and I thought I would just show you guys my process for making a quick curry. I also thought that, hey, I need to use my tools more often. So instead of chopping everything up, I am using my little KitchenAid food processor. What I'm putting in here is a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil. I have some dill sauce that I had previously made, some turmeric, and some ginger, onions, garlic. I'm gonna pulse all of that until it becomes like a little paste. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and add in some more aromatics. This is some tomatillos for freshness. It's got cilantro in it. This is another sauce that I already had previously made, and I thought, let me just add this to this sauce. It can't possibly hurt. So now I'm just gonna season things up with a little Himalayan pink sea salt and some black pepper. Gonna add in some cumin, a little paprika, all the smoky flavors that you love in a curry. And then this is just my turmeric immunity blend. I'm gonna go ahead and give that another whiz. And as always, you have to taste it, you guys. So here's my little taste spoon. Let's see what it tastes like. It's pretty close to perfect. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt because salt is the spice of life. And then give it another whiz. And we should be ready to go. I'm gonna taste it one more time. That's it. Dead on perfect. Here's my chicken. I'm using dark meat chicken. Of course, I'm gonna season the chicken itself because I like to season in layers. So I'm using thighs and drumsticks, and I'm only making enough for just the three of us because I don't really want leftovers unless it's that delicious gravy I'm gonna show y'all later. So again, I'm seasoning with salt, pepper, and my turmeric immunity blend. I'm also going to add in some actual curry seasoning. I'm gonna get in there and just massage that chicken really well so that it can just sit and absorb all of those flavors. Now, I'm gonna show y'all a really quick trick in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and add in our paste. What I wanna do is just like coat all of the chicken and massage it in, let it sit for as long as I possibly can. Tonight, since I started a little bit early, but I didn't start super early, so it's only gonna sit for about an hour and just marinate. So here we go. I'm just coating all sides, and what I really want to do is leave the chicken skin side up for a bit, let it get some of the flavors in there, and then I'm just gonna come back through, and this is the trick that I spoke about earlier that I wanted to show you guys. I'm gonna come back through and stick my hand, separate the skin from the meat of the chicken, and I'm gonna stick some of this marinade in between the skin and the meat. That way, that second layer, you get flavor all throughout the chicken. So basically, you don't want to take the skin off. You just want to separate the skin a little bit so that you have kind of like a pocket in there. Let's see if I can show you. See that pocket? That's what you want. And then just stuff some of that seasoning in there. It's actually kind of satisfying. Yes, I always wear gloves when I'm doing little chicken or ground meat because I'm a texture person and the texture of these things do not make me happy. So, plus, it's much more hygienic to do it this way. Chicken, as you know, can carry a lot of things that we don't want. So, gloves it is. So here we go. Now I've got my marinade all over my chicken and underneath the skin a little bit. So I'm gonna let it sit. Ultimately, what I want is to bake the chicken skin side down first and then turn it over and bake it skin side up so that the skin gets nice and crispy. So here we go. I've put this in the oven for, it's been about 20 minutes with the skin side down, like I said. And anything extra that just like kind of drops into the pan, you know, you don't want to use it all because you want those drippings, but anything extra that drops down into the pan, just, you know, go ahead and pick that up and put as much of it as possible back onto the chicken. Let that thing cook out. That's looking really good, actually. It's gonna be so tasty. Chicken is still looking really pale, but that's because it's not, first of all, it's not done. And secondly, because we haven't done a gravy. And at the very end, I'm going to add a little bit more seasoning specifically for color because the curry paste that we made didn't have a ton of color in it. So just scrape up as much of those little brown juicy bits off the bottom as you possibly can. Stick that thing back in the oven. The first time I had it in there for about 20 minutes because this is dark meat. You want it to cook until the juices run completely clear when you pierce it all the way down to the bone. And then I'm going to flip it over and cook it for another 20 to 30 minutes. There's my paprika. You saw me adding on there, and that's going to give it just a little bit more smokiness and a little bit more color. And then some actual curry powder. It's for flavor and it's also for color. I cannot get enough of curry. So I'm just going to stick this back in for another 20 to 30 minutes. Check it, make sure the juices run clear, and it will be ready to go. So, by the magic of TV on YouTube, we have some beautiful brown baked chicken curry. Look at the color on those. These are done because the juices are running clear when you pierce it all the way through to the bone. So I'm going to just go ahead and take these out, and now we're going to get started on the gravy, which is honestly the best part. And I love making gravy, but I'm also the gravy queen. Let me tell y'all, this is a Pyrex dish, and I've done this in a Pyrex dish multiple times. Let's go ahead and move our chicken off to a plate, and then I'm going to add some water directly to this Pyrex dish. I have a gas cooktop. I have this Pyrex dish on top of the gas cooktop on the smallest burner, and that burner is on low. My goal here is just to get all those drippings off the bottom and the sides of this pan. It's gonna do two things. It's gonna give me tons of flavor in this gravy, and it's gonna make the pan very easy to clean. So here we go. Just scrape the pan and continue scraping until you get as much of those drippings off the bottom and the sides as you possibly can. It'll take a minute. And it'll take a little bit of elbow grease, but trust me, it is completely worth it in the end. That's where all your flavor is going to come from. You're not going to need to add any additional seasonings. Don't even really need to add flour, but flour will thicken up the whole situation here. Woo, my wrists are getting a little bit of a workout, but it's all worth it. It's so good. Now that I've gotten pretty much everything off the sides and off the bottom of this dish, I'm going to give it a taste because it's calling my name. So just going to taste it. So good. So good. So delicious. Finish scraping off these last little bits. I'm going to add in a little bit of the marinade that I had left over because this is going to help to thicken it up for me. I'm sorry I didn't tell y'all that before. Save a little bit of the marinade if you possibly can. I'm going to add some vegetable broth to this. First, I'm going to add it to the dish that I have my marinade in and just kind of get all those good juicy bits out of there. Swish it around, add it to the gravy, and now we're just going to stir all of that in together. I prefer using broth for this because you don't want to dilute the flavor so much with a ton of water. Look at that. It's already thickening up. Look at that color. It's just beautiful. We might end up adding a little bit more water, but not much, if any at all. There you go. I told you I might add some flour. I do prefer a thicker gravy. Sometimes I like the thin gravy that, has no flour in it. It's just the flavors from the actual cook from the chicken. But I wanted a little bit more depth and heft to this gravy, so I added just a tiny wee bit, like maybe less than a quarter of a cup, less than an eighth of a cup. Stir it up really good. You don't want any lumps. The color is beautiful on this, by the way. Here we go. Let's taste again. This is why I don't eat dinner, because I taste and taste and taste. By the time I'm done cooking, I'm full already. And that's the fun part. So it's all good. Nobody's complaining. So here we are with some thickened gravy, again by the magic of TV or the magic of YouTube. I love gravy. I am the gravy queen. Like, I would actually drink gravy if it were not just a completely bad move. All right, so I did feel like I needed a little bit more curry flavor, so here we go. I'm just gonna add a tiny little bit of just curry powder itself. Get that stirred in a little bit. That's just some salt, you know. We always have to add salt. I get people asking all the time, how much salt is too much salt? Salt is the spice of life. So you can do all the seasonings you want, but if there's no salt and no pepper, you're not gonna have the actual flavor. Salt brings out the flavor of other things, including fruits. I used to wonder why my grandma would put salt on like cantaloupe and watermelon. It sounded crazy to me, but once I tasted it, you could really taste the sweetness. Salt always brings out the flavor in everything. And of course, we taste as we go, and we adjust. Let's see. That is deliciousness. It's dead on perfect. Now that I've got my flavor exactly how I want it, it's so delicious, I'm just gonna add my chicken back into the gravy so that it can kind of like pick up all those juices. This is not a dry type of a chicken. Curries are very wet and like dripping with flavor, just deliciousness. Now that that's done and simmering away, I took the chance to use some of that extra marinade with some red lentils and make a creamy, delicious dal. You guys, let me know what you think of this recipe, of this cook method. I've never done curry in the oven like this before, so I'd love to know what you think. And I'm going to show you the final dish in a sec, so if you like this video, please like this video and don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks for watching.